sa kakulangan ng oras. At dahil nga sobrang trabaho ninyo, kaya halos wala ng panahon. And mabuti naman and you decided na magkaroon ng ganito. Now, marami yung mga katanungan ng mga tao, pati media, at isa sa kanila ay yung mga kritiko lalo po ninyo. Sinasabi nilang, bakit naman itong administrasyon na ito nakapokus yata upang i-silence yung mga kritiko instead na yung mga mas mahalagang bagay ang asikasuhin. Ano po bang masasabi natin dito? You're focusing now more on the silencing your critics.
I have yet to hear, I have yet to sign anything ordering the arrest or the silencing of anybody in this government, especially the critics. The fact that they are doing it every day only goes to show that I am giving them the time of their lives to just talk and talk and talk. Wala naman, it's an invented phrase kasi yung silencing. Pati yung kay Dilima, the entire country knows that. He has a pending case, no bail, is being detained, and everywhere I go, it seems to be that they were able to place the news in a wrong perspective that Dilima is being detained and she is a prisoner of conscience. But of course, in lahat ng Pilipino, to us Filipinos, that's crazy because it's in court, it's being heard, and she had her days of explaining it to the public. Aside from that, wala na. Yun naman kay Trillanes, there are just only two of them. May nakita kasi si Soljan Kalida na mali. Pagka mali is mali. Hindi mo talaga makorek yan. And one of the glaring mistakes of the Aquino administration was to extend an amnesty. But the procedure was totally wrong in the sense that he just issued the proclamation, no particular names. It was a motherhood statement to cover the individual and any of the acts of the mutineers. Ang problema niyan, he designated Gasmin to investigate, and there was a committee. And that committee came up with the resolution to grant amnesty. On that basis, Gasmin wrote to the President that they are recommending amnesty. Correct. Walang problema yan. The problem is, after recommending, at the end of the narration, the narratives there, Gasmin signed the amnesty itself. You know, it is not possible to do that. Why? Because an act of pardon or amnesty is an act of state. It cannot be delegated to anybody but to the person of the President himself. It's not a circular that is being followed by the secretaries or a procedure prescribed by the office of the President. That ain't the case. Yung Presidente mismo, in the Constitution, exclusively grants him the power to pardon and amnesty. Look, why? You know, because the action now taken against him by way of a criminal complaint is a very serious one, rebellion. Had it succeeded, it could have overthrown the government. So that an act of pardon, an act of amnesty is always an act of state which cannot be done by a mere cabinet member. Especially if that cabinet member was the one or was one of those who investigated and made the recommendation and approved the recommendation himself.
In other words, Mr. President, they're saying that the power to grant amnesty and pardon is personal as well as exclusive to the president.
Yes, correct. It's an act of state.
Just like the power to suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus and to declare martial law.
Yes, and to call Congress to a special session. You cannot delegate it to the executive secretary.
In fact, Mr. President, your doctrine, the doctrine that you're initiating now, finds basis in the Supreme Court decision. In the case of Constantino versus Cuisa, GR number 106064, promulgated on October 13, 2005, it says, and I quote, "Nevertheless, there are powers vested in the President by the Constitution which may not be delegated to or exercised by an agent or alter ego of the President." Justice Laurel, in his Ponencia in Villana case, made this very clear, and the decision quotes, "Withal, at first blush, the argument of ratification may seem plausible under the circumstances. It should be observed that there are certain acts which, by their very nature, cannot be validated by subsequent approval or ratification by the President. There are certain constitutional powers and prerogatives of the chief executive of the nation which must be exercised by him in person, and no amount of approval or ratification will validate the exercise of any of those powers by any other persons. Such, for instance, in his power to suspend the writ of the habeas corpus and proclaim martial law, and the exercise by him of the benign prerogative of mercy." Now, in that decision of Constantino, Justice Art Panganiban made this doctrine. These distinctions hold true to this day. There are certain presidential powers which arise out of exceptional circumstances, and if exercised would involve the suspension of fundamental freedoms, or at least call for the supersedence of executive prerogatives over those exercised by equal branches of the government. The declaration of martial law, the suspension of the writ of habeas corpus, and the exercise of pardoning power, notwithstanding the judicial determination of guilt of the accused, all fall within this special class that demands the exclusive exercise by the President of the constitutionally vested power. The list is by no means exclusive, but there must be a showing that the executive power in question is of similar gravitas and exceptional import. Kaya yung po sinasabi nyo, merong justification. May ruling ang Korte Suprema. Hindi kaya na sinasabi ng mga abogado ng kabila, sabi nila, mali yung sinasabi ng mga abogado ni Presidente sapagkat pwedeng i-delegate yung power to grant amnesty. Maling-mali po sila ron.
Ako ang nagsalita noong una niyan. I'm not saying that I claim exclusivity in the announcement. But I was thinking over the matter coming home. Sabi ko itong mga to, these are the powers that are granted to the President because they are supposed to fall in the category of an action by the state. Yung mga ganon na klase na hindi pwede mong ma-delegate yan. Even if the President is sick, he cannot wait, then you have to wait until he dies or somebody takes over. But you cannot delegate that power to a subordinate, an alter ego, because, I said, it is an exercise of state power.
Meron nga may logic naman yung sinasabi ng Korte Suprema sapagkat yung pong power to declare martial law at saka suspension of the privilege involves the deprivation of freedoms, of rights.
Rights.
Doon naman sa pardoning power, nagkaroon na ng determination yung isang branch ng government, nag-guilty yan, yet i-overturn ninyo. Kaya tama ho yung sinasabi nila na hindi pa pwedeng i-delegate sa ibang tao.
Nakita mo as serious as a rebellion. Had it succeeded, it could have caused government to overthrow. They could have overthrown government, so that's a very serious thing of pardoning a person who is out to destroy government. So it is by no means just a mere infraction of the law. It is as serious as the existence of the government itself. So when you are called upon to task and to answer for that, and if there's any pardoning or amnesty, may concurrence of Congress na. It could not be Gasmin concurring with Congress. That is what it amounts to. In the first place, there is no special power of attorney or authority or whatever that the President left it to Gasmin to do it all together in one, and to authorize him. To authorize him to investigate, I will concede to that. But the act of granting amnesty with Gasmin and Congress concurring is just above me. I don't know how to reconcile it. Yun ang problema doon.
In other words, Mr. President, even assuming that Trillanes was compliant of the mandatory requirements of applying under oath,
Wala na ako doon.
wala pa rin doon sapagkat lumalabas ngayon na talagang nullity, complete nullity.
I would rise and fall on the proposition that only the President himself physically doing the pardoning and granting the amnesty.
In other words, yung pong rason nyo ay more on legal grounds. Hindi gaya yung sinasabi ng kritiko na political daw yung naging dahilan.
Constitutional mandate. Mabigat yan. So, pag if the Supreme Court would disagree with me, then that is a new development on jurisprudence and I would accept it. Pero ako, at first blush, any lawyer will always agree with me that that is personal and exclusive to the President of the Republic of the Philippines.